Hey, Matt, topic of the day, we're going to talk about RPA, robotic process automation, but more specifically, you're an expert in utilities. You know that industry better than anyone. Can you talk to us a little bit today about RPA for utilities?
Sure. So RPA, otherwise known as Robotic Process Automation, it is a very easy way to really start to digitize your business. I mean, when we look at things that are kind of low value processes and tasks that are high value employees are performing, whether it's rekeying data into a other system or it's doing mundane tasks like AP automation, or even in some cases things like inspections, whether it's taking imagery from the field and then having a bot, which is really the kind of underlying technology, really look at that and assess that and make a decision from an inspection perspective. So robotic process automation is really kind of starting to take some momentum within utilities, because if you think about it, there's so many different systems we have in play. There's so many different things that are done in kind of multifaceted mode, whether it be manual forms that have to be filled out to conditional data that's coming off of assets and so on. And so when we look at how do we leverage bots to really be able to do these processes and tasks at scale, and even putting logic with them so that they can learn and improve how we perform these tasks, or do things like anomaly checking, let's say on vendor invoices from AP processing and so on. So we see RPA as really a awesome, starting out low cost, quick win opportunity for utilities to start looking at automation and how digital technologies like RPA can help them drive efficiencies throughout the organization.
So, Matt, you touched on how RPA can help utilities scale. Can you expand on that a little bit for us?
Well, whether you start out with one particular bot on one particular task, or you're taking more intelligent bots where they're performing a multitude of tasks, you can imagine the horsepower and the compute power as it relates to a bot or a multitude of bots performing a task versus an individual. So there's kind of two parts of scale. One is just the processing power that a bot can do versus a human on these kind of low value mundane tasks, and our people can be focused on higher value decision making and driving performance in the organization. Or it could be looking at how we can take a multitude of tasks and bots and really looking at truly producing scale around, whether it be volumes of data that needs to be moved from one system to another, whether it be volumes of tasks or transactions that need to be performed in one system to another, or simply analyzing data. And then, to my example on the anomaly checking, the volume of data that they can be running through is pretty impressive.
What's more prevalent with the utility today? Is it they've got legacy systems that they're trying to automate processes there, or is it new processes?
Every company is a little different, so how we engage with customers is we have starters, so specific examples that are relevant to utilities. Sometimes we start there because a lot of companies will say, hey, we just don't have our business processes well mapped out, and so it's going to take too much time. Can we take a specific use case? In other cases, we're really kind of doing more of analysis on the front end, where we're actually taking and looking kind of across the business and looking at manual processes that we may be able to automate, integrations, things like that. And then we're looking at kind of a business case assessment to really say, okay, what is the real business case to automate this, and what's the impact and ROI from that? And that kind of drives the prioritization of how we roll out these different bot layers.
So different bot layers, can a company dip their toe in the water, or is it typically a, hey, you've got to jump in?
No, absolutely. We have what we call RPA in a day. So it's really taking that kind of whole cycle and compressing it. So it starts with that quick analysis to come out with a single use case. Then we take someone through the build process, and then we actually simulate that. So you could very much start, and that's something that meaningful that at the end of that process, that they can start implementing within an organization. But in general, they're, even if you look at more sophisticated processes, these are pretty quick projects. These are 3 weeks to maybe 6 weeks max. In many cases, even sooner, that you can really start taking specific tasks or processes and automating them very quickly.
Okay. Well, you mentioned RPA in a day. You mentioned some starters. If a company out there, they haven't invested in RPA, they're a utility, they feel like there is an opportunity. what do they do, Matt? How do they get a hold of you? Where do they start?
Easiest is you can reach out to us directly or, go to our website, and kind of the way we approach it is really from kind of we like to start with the analysis and kind of be a bit agnostic as it relates to, because there's different solutions in the market. Obviously, Microsoft is making a big investment in the market. They had their or have their Power Automate platform within Power Platform. They made a recent acquisition of Win Automate, which is bringing a lot of new value to their offering. I think you'll see them as a very big dominant player in the market against some of the others that are out there in the market. So, for our perspective, it's really helping customers really understand the value. A lot of times what will happen is they'll go out and buy the software and they kind of just start out with a single task or a single process, and then it really doesn't kind of scale throughout the organization. So what we try to help them do is really kind of build the constructs or the framework to really say, okay, when we look at the organization as a whole and we look at investing in a tool like this, how do we best kind of roll that out within the organization? What's our governance going to be? How do we prioritize new areas that we want to automate? And then, what are the tasks that we should be doing that humans should be still owning versus, bots?
No, that makes sense. I mean, you hear a lot today about some of the RPA tools. You mentioned Power Automate. I know there's an AI builder and a number of tools within the Power Platform that are built for the citizen developer, and people
Correct.
start cranking out apps and cranking out processes. You're talking about the discipline, right? The structure that goes around how you roll out those tools within an organization.
Exactly. And really kind of building that foundational framework that allows you to, as the business changes, as new needs come up, that it's very easy for you to make a quick assessment on what the impact of automation would be for the particular task, and then ultimately to prioritize these different areas that you want to look at automating over a period of time, line of business, or a business process.
That's great. Well, Matt, thanks for your time today, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Great. Thanks, Bill.